nonprofits and municipalities are all scrambling to respond in the best way possible. That means that as we speak, different instruments, different responses are being crafted. Part of the reason one of our partners today, Action, serving Illinois, couldn't join us this afternoon is that he's being pulled into a meeting to discuss how to create some of these grants or 0% low interest or even low interest rate loans, grants, loans with payment deferrals or payment waivers, etc. We know that crowdfunding is trying to respond as quickly as possible. Kiva loans, WeFunder, iFund Women, etc., all trying to come together as rapidly as possible. So what you'll be hearing today is where we stand today, some discussion on what we hope to see in the upcoming days, and we look to have an update for you in the very near future. As an immediate response, ICIC has created a small business resource center that compiles a lot of the things that we're seeing across the country, and we hope to be updating this as rapidly as possible. We'll be updating it at least twice a week. So please direct yourselves to icic.org/small-business-COVID-19-crisis/ You have it on your slides, and we will be sending these out to everybody afterwards, but please share, listen to a lot of what we have here for you today. And now I'm going to hand it back to David to introduce our other panelists, because it's them you want to hear and not me. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Diego. Really appreciate you joining today's webinar. And thank you and your team for helping us put this together, especially on a very short timeline. We're really glad to partner with you and with ICIC, particularly in these challenging times for small business owners. So thanks again, Diego, for joining us, and thank you for all the work that you and your colleagues are doing to help small business owners during this particular crisis. I am going to introduce our next speaker, who is Daniel Martiniello from the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA. Obviously, the SBA has been and will continue to be sort of at the center of a lot of the response efforts from the federal government. So I'm sure you'll all be very interested to hear what Daniel has to say. So with that, Daniel, I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. And good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me on the call. Again, my name's Dan Martinello. I'm the Lender Relations Specialist for the U.S. Small Business Administration. I actually work for our Massachusetts district office and the team over here in Boston. So I know it's obviously, a real hot topic, the economic injury disaster loans. And I know there's a lot of questions coming in about the other available business resources that are right now being up for final approval on the Hill. But, from what we have right now with the SBA, we do have a couple loan programs. One just got approved last night, and then we have the economic injury disaster loans that currently have been out for a little over a week right now. So basically, with the SBA, typically we're dealing with guarantees on loans. So typically what you're doing is you're going into, your local bank, credit union, other lending partners, micro lenders, and we're providing a guarantee, unless it's through our micro lending program, which is a little bit different. This case with the economic injury disaster loans, these are loans directly from the U.S. Treasury through the SBA. So these are loans directly from the federal government. You do not have to walk into a bank to get funding for these. You're applying online right now. Just as we speak, I got off the phone with our district director. They're only accepting paper applications for the time being because, with this disaster, obviously this is something that none of us have ever dealt with in the past. Typically, when we have disaster loans, it's for a hurricane or other natural disaster, and it might only affect a few states or a few counties, for that matter. Where this is, affecting all 50 states. The system is, being a little overwhelmed at the time for everybody applying. So right now, they're trying to work on some maintenance issues to fix some of the problems to make the process faster for everybody. But you can still apply through paper, and the system is allowing you to upload documents through there as well. You can also send it to our disaster center, which is down in Fort Worth, Texas, and that information should be on the site. So let me just go to the next slide here. So how do you apply? So that disaster loan.sba.gov's /ELA / that will bring you directly to the application page. And as far as what this loan entails, so these are loans, long-term loans, with small interest rates. There's pretty much any small business can apply. And we're encouraging every small business, whether you've been in business 30 years or you just started your business this year, you should be applying. The analysts that are going to be handling all the loans, they're going to look at each loan application on a case-by-case basis. So there may be additional information that they require, and they'll reach out to you and let you know. For instance, if you're maybe a new business and you haven't you haven't filed your tax returns yet, they might look at a request business plan with 2 years of projections for you. So things like that might be required after you initially start the application process. With these loans too, you're going to have a fixed interest rate of 3.75% for all businesses. We're also doing these for private nonprofits as well. So if you're a private nonprofit, your interest rate will be 2.75%. Those rates aren't negotiable. Those are just standard across the board for everybody. Doesn't matter what amount you get approved for. So the loan amounts can actually go up to $2 million. With that being said, from what I understand, they're going to look at your next 6 months. So no one officially knows how long this pandemic is really going to happen, right? So they're going to look to see, what funding you need to help you run your day-to-day operations over the next 6 months. But with that said, you can actually apply for additional funding at a later time if you need that. So they're going to take every situation case by case. And one good note too, if you get approved for the loan, right now all loans are going to be on a 12-month deferral payment status, which means the first year of the loan, you're not going to need to pay a loan payment. Also, just one thing to note is when you get the funds from the Treasury, they're going to direct deposit it into the account that you provide them. Interest will accrue during those 12 months that you're not making payments. They're just going to add that interest that accrued over the 12 months into your whatever payment term that you've gone. From what I understand is they're really setting everybody's loan at the 30-year term mark. So these are going to be all on the longer term side. I don't think we're going to see any 10-year notes or 5-year notes or anything like that. I think it's pretty much going to be all 30 years for the time being. A couple of things also you want to know. For small dollar loans, $25,000 or under, there does not need to be any collateral requirements. If it's over $25,000, the SBA will look to collateralize the loan as much as possible, both with personal assets and business assets. So anybody that is a 20% owner or more will need to provide a personal guarantee, and your personal assets will be looked at. With that being said, no loan is going to be denied based on lack of collateral. And that's kind of across the board on all of our loan programs. We always tell our lending partners to look to see what available collateral there is. If there's not enough, that's not a reason to deny the loan. So, I don't want anybody to feel discouraged because they don't have enough collateral to secure the loan. They're not going to deny it based on that reason. A couple other things, just want to, note here as far as what information you'll need. Obviously you need your contact information make sure you give them your best contact information that they can reach you right away, because the disaster centers are going to be working night and day. So they might be calling you outside of the 9 to 5 window, because they are working around the clock. One thing too, when you're applying for the loan, you have to keep in mind on where you're headquartered. Because I know everybody on this call is from a variety of different states. If you're headquartered in a state that your governor has yet declared an economic disaster, you won't be able to apply yet. So you have to make sure that your state in your county is declared an economic disaster to apply for these funds. So I'm here in Massachusetts. So our governor declared that, I think it was on March 18th. So any small business in the state of Massachusetts can apply. But you also want to be aware that depending on what county you're located in your state, a border state of yours may have declared already. And a lot of times the border counties of the state above or below also qualify. So you can check that in by going to our website too, and going to that same disaster center. You can check on the eligibility of the county that you're located in. Again, you're going to need to provide a personal financial statement for anybody that's 20% or more owner. They will want to collect 100% of ownership, so the data on your full ownership. So if you have owners that maybe only own maybe 2% or 5% of a business, they are going to want to collect their information, but they're not going to request their full personal financial statement, just basic demographic information. And then, you might need to provide some insurance information. So have that handy, your monthly historical figures, estimated loss. So one thing is you'll need to submit a schedule of liabilities. With that said, the personal financial statement, the schedule of liabilities, we provide forms for you to utilize for that, but you do not have to use SBA's forms for that. You can, if you have your accountant or an advisor or one of our resource partners that we have helping you with that stuff, you can utilize your own. You have your own accounting software that puts all that together. Feel free to utilize that and just upload that with your application. Save yourself some time there. And then you're going to need to provide tax returns. So from what I've found out, some things have been changing. They're trying to relax some things. For loans that are going to be under $500,000 for the time being, they're actually not requiring you to submit your taxes. However, they are requiring you to sign a 4506T, which is a tax verification form. It's a standard IRS form, and they just want to make sure that you have filed your taxes correctly, both on the personal and business side. So those are just some things to keep in mind. And like I said, they may require additional information because they're looking at each loan case by case. So just keep in mind to, have a updated P&L if you have that, balance sheet, things like that ready on hand if need be. Yeah, so as far as decisions go, right now, from what we've been told, from completed application, and what I mean by completed application is, your full application with your uploaded supporting documentation, you're looking at about a 3 to 4 week time frame from to approval, and then the funds being directed into your account. So they give you a few days to sign the note, return it back to them, and then the Treasury sends you the funds directly. A couple of things you want to take note of there, though, too, is you have no obligation to sign that note just because you filled out an application. You can actually hold off on signing that for 6 months. So you can request to the analyst that you would like it withdrawn, and they'll hold it for 6 months. If you have other financing avenues that you're looking into, you can, certainly, entertain those, first if you want. And then on the flip side, if you've been denied, you actually have 6 months from the date of denial to submit a request for reconsideration. And provide additional supporting documentation for your application. So those are, two things that you can take note of. And there's no cost to apply. As far as collateral goes, if they do look to collateralize a portion of the loan or all of the loan based on what assets you have, if it's personal real estate and things, they're not going to be looking to do an appraisal. So there's not going to be costs on on that. And I think they're just going to take the market value, and we truly don't care about lien position. So if you already have financing out there with another institution from a previous loan and their first lien holder, we're not going to be looking to take the senior lien position. We'll take a junior lien, third, fourth, fifth position, whatever the case may be. So those are options there too. And like I said, right now, unfortunately, it can still apply. It's just through the paper version, but definitely if you have advisors, if you have accountants, if you have business organizations that can help you, guide you through that, definitely do so. We ourselves have 68 field offices with lender relations specialists just like myself. Depending on what state or location of the state you're in, reach out to them because they can answer a lot of questions on the application for you as well. So take advantage of that. We also fund several different small business organizations that help with a variety of technical assistance, such as SCORE, the Small Business Development Centers, the Center for Women and Enterprise, and the Veterans Business Outreach Center. They are all being trained to help the small businesses in their community get through the application process as well, and helping them with the financial data that they need to provide. So, just utilize your resources, and those are all free resources too. So, definitely utilize them if you can. Yeah, and so another thing, as far as what we typically do, so like I was saying before, we're typically the guarantor. So usually you're going to a bank to get funding, and then we're providing a guarantee based on a certain percentage of the loan, whether it's 50%, 75%, whatever the case may be. What came out new, and it was late last night that we got word of it, so we just sent it to all the banks late in the day, was the SBA reenacted the Express Bridge Loan. So the Express Bridge Loan is a program that you can actually go to your bank right now and actually get some small short-term financing that can help with the same exact issues as the emergency economic injury disaster loan can. So these loans are small dollar loans. They're $25,000. They're only term loans. There is a guarantee fee because we're going to guarantee 50% of the loan. There could be application fees depending on the bank that you're utilizing. One thing to note, if you're a small business, the only option you have is to go to the bank you currently are a customer of. If you are a business customer of several banks, you can utilize any of them. They have to be an express lender, which a good portion of our lending partners nationwide are, but you want to check with their commercial lending team to make sure that they are, because if they're not if they don't have an express authority agreement with us, they cannot provide these loans. But the banks have been told that they can only provide this to existing business customers. They can't be a brand new customer. So, terms on that are 7 years. They're only going to be typically under our Express program. You can do lines of credit and term, but they're only going to be term loans, 7 years. And you can actually apply for the disaster loan. And let's say you get approved for, $100,000, just as a reference point. You can actually use those funds to pay off that Express Bridge loan if you choose to do so. So that's and what happens with the bank, the banks are making the decision on these loans. This is not the SBA making the decision. So in our Express program, we allow the banks to utilize their own prudent lending practices based on how they would handle a loan if it was a non-SBA loan. So each bank might have different lending practices. So you want to definitely check with your local institution on that. And on this slide too, these are just a couple of the other programs that we typically have. So our primary programs are the 7A, which has a lot of sub-programs. We do exporting loan programs, and we have loans that can provide for any sort of business purpose, whether it's working capital, inventory, leasehold expansion, and under our normal everyday loan program. So, you want to just be aware of that, because that's things that you might need down the road. Hopefully this pandemic doesn't, at the end of the day, become bigger by the day. Hopefully it dissolves over time. So, these are programs that you want to know for your future for the business. And as far as, the SBA loans too, just some other things, the terms. So on these economic disaster loans, on the express bridge loans, there's not going to be any balloon payments. The rates are low. That's one thing you want, you got to just keep in mind. So you want to weigh your options as these new financing options come into play. And, I know that they're coming from different angles, and it's probably going to be in the next few weeks that you're going to see a variety of different options. Those are some things you want to look at: the terms, the interest rates, and just how the payments are structured. So, keep all of those in mind. But again, utilize the SBA.gov website, find out where your local field office is in the state that you're at, and they can definitely give you up-to-date information pertaining to that particular state. All right, I think I'm done, so I'll turn it back over to you guys.
All right, great. Thank you, Dan, so much for that presentation. I'm sure things are pretty hectic this week at SBA, so we really appreciate you hopping on today to give us the latest. So definitely a lot of great resources and programs available from SBA. I know this assistance has never been more essential than right now. So thanks again, Dan. Before I introduce our next speaker, I wanted to just quickly make mention that we do have some polls that have been set up in this webinar. If you look on your screen, you'll see the polls tab on your screen, where we'd like to learn a little bit more about how you all as small business owners are being impacted by COVID-19. So take a look at that poll, fill it out as you listen to the presenters here, getting real-time sort of feedback from you all who are on the ground facing these real major challenges is really helpful for us to hear directly from you. How this is impacting you really helps to inform all the education work that we're doing, webinars like this, just so we know that we're matching what we're offering is really meeting the needs of small business owners, and it really is also helpful as we continue working with federal policymakers. So go ahead and fill out those tabs, the survey, the poll tab, and with that, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who is Josefa Fayatoli. Sorry if I mispronounced your last name there, Josefa. Josefa is with Opportunity Fund, and Opportunity Fund has been a great partner at Small Business Majority, and more importantly, they are an excellent resource and lender to small businesses. So we're excited to have Josefa on the webinar today and let you all know a little bit about more about what his organization does. So Josefa, take it away.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, David, for the introduction. I want to start with expressions of gratitude to ICIC and Small Business Majority for putting this together during this very challenging time. More than anything else, want to thank all of the small business owners, our community that's on this call. I think we had close to 1,000 folks or over that number sign up for this, and obviously you're going through unprecedented times, but I'm sure that whatever you pulled on when you pursued your dream initially to become a small business owner, that resilience, that resourcefulness, that tenacity, I'm sure is helping to serve you well today and next week and the time coming. So thank you all for joining us and wanting to acknowledge that many of us are working remotely, including myself. So my wife is playing defense with my 2 toddlers, so hopefully they don't break in. But I think we're all dealing with some sort of unusual working place circumstances. But with that, I wanted to start. The first few minutes is really just an overview of the community development financial institution landscape. So Opportunity Fund is a CDFI, again, Community Development Financial Institution. And for those of you who are not familiar with CDFIs, we essentially exist, and Opportunity Fund is one of many, to address the gap that financial institutions leave behind in terms of small dollar lending. So typically CDFIs lend under $250,000. So for Opportunity Fund, our a range of lending goes from as small as $2,600 up to $250,000. But our average size loan's closer to $35,000. So we really are in this micro space. And there are other CDFIs where their average size loan is, $50,000 or $100,000. But the bottom line is we try to support those amazing small business owners like yourselves that are on this call by providing the capital that you've earned to help grow your business and fulfill your dreams. The majority of the clients of CDFIs are low income, mostly minority, sort of everyone that fits into this underserved marketplace. One of the value adds for CDFIs is that there is a lot of in-depth support around mentoring and education and workshops that go beyond the lending side. And like I mentioned before, many CDFIs offer microloans of less than $50,000. Just to give you a sense, and this is obviously very high level, but generally speaking, as we look at the pros and cons of CDFI lending versus mainstream financial services or other alternative lenders, CDFIs are very competitive within the alternative lending landscape. And I'll share in a little bit a study that Opportunity Fund did a couple of years ago to give you a frame of reference of where sort of CDFIs fit in terms of rates and responsibility relative to the alternative sort of higher cost online lending options. But in addition to competitive rates, as I mentioned, there's a lot of wraparound services that CDFIs provide, including advice around your business plan or your marketing strategies, maybe some tax or insurance challenges that you have. They serve as a sort of a one-stop shop for this market of entrepreneurs. And those that we serve are largely folks that have gone to their bank and have been declined, or many who are underbanked or unbanked. And so we really focus on making sure that from your taco street vendor to your local nail salon, that Main Street, whether it's Main Street in East Los Angeles or Main Street in Nashville, Tennessee, that we have those services covered. The cons is that we typically, like I said before, do loans under $250,000. For Opportunity Fund, our average size loans about $35,000. And for many, personal collateral and guarantees are often required. A wonderful resource for the whole CDFI community for you all to check out is Opportunity Finance Network, not to be confused with Opportunity Fund, but it is a national network of CDFIs, and you can find one that's closest to you, depending on what your geography is. There was another slide, but I don't think it's on here, so I will just speak to it. I wanted to, as I mentioned before, kind of give you an understanding of sort of the landscape. So obviously you have your financial institutions, your banks, and then you have CDFIs that sort of fall into this alternative lending player. And then there's all these other players that have boomed since the end of the last recession. So for the last 5 to 10 years, with financial technology or fintech, there's been a lot of new options, which for many of our small business owners, it creates a greater reach, it creates some speed and sort of ease to access capital, which is the upside. The downside is that many of these options, particularly on the merchant cash event side, are extremely you're dealing with high rates and short terms. Opportunity Fund, along with many CDFIs, have seen this trend of alternative lenders really in the last 5 years, because a lot of folks are coming to us for refinancing rather than coming to us for the first time. And so there's with these other players, we started looking at what the terms and the rates look like. And Opportunity Fund 2 years ago took a subset of about 100 folks that were coming to us for refinancing out of bad debt. And what we found was that the average APR on that bad debt was about 94%. And on top of that, the average monthly loan payments were about 170% of what their monthly net income was. So in many cases, these alternative online lenders are making it hard for Main Street businesses to succeed because it's not sustainable, it's not affordable to sort of be put into those situations. But as you all know, especially at times like this, access and speed and ease are really important. So, there's definitely a sense of caution that I think us mission-based lenders and SBA lenders want to provide you all and make sure that you look at CDFIs as options, again, going through through Opportunity Finance Network. To give you a little bit more color around Opportunity Fund, we've been around for over 25 years. We got our start in the Bay Area here in California and have expanded now nationwide, primarily through a partnership with Lending Club. Our loans range from $2,600 to $250,000. The rates range anywhere between 6 to about 24%, but the average rate is somewhere between 10 and 12%. So as I mentioned, you have your bank loans that you can get maybe up to 8%, and we pick up around 10 to 12%. And then you have all these other lenders that we're thinking of minimum high 20s, 30% interest rates. These are all term loans, so 1 to 5 years. Average terms about 2 to 3 years, and this is we try to look at this as patient capital. And so that's our standard program. You can go to opportunityfund.org to access or to learn more about our program. Obviously, we're here today because of COVID-19. And what I will say, as Diego mentioned at the outset, we are all scrambling to make sure that we being mission-based lenders, are scrambling to partner with local city, local government, as well as philanthropy to make sure that we can raise the capital to get out to our small business owners. So what we're working on right now is we have 6,000 active borrowers, 6,000 small businesses, mostly in California that we serve, and many of them are like you, who are coming to us for help. And so we're focused right now on providing 1 to 3 months of deferment or even forgiveness. And so as we and other CDFIs are doing that as sort of a sense of urgency to address the thousands of business owners that are currently partnering with CDFIs, we are also looking to develop other programs that meet you all where you're at. And so we're in the process, Opportunity Fund, and I know groups like CDC Small Business Finance and others are creating a relief fund. For us, it's looking like it'll be more of a bridge loan at the upper tier of maybe $10,000. It's not up and running yet. We're trying to develop it right now, but I would urge you all next week to continue to check our site, opportunityfund.org, as I'm hoping that we'll have that up. We're also looking at creating a savings program with a partner so that as you're sort of building out your credit by paying off loans, we're also going to help start a savings program so that once we get beyond this, you're starting to save for the next rainy day. We're also working with a partner around financial health resources. As I mentioned before, CDFIs do a lot of work in technical assistance, and we ourselves are going to be partnering with an online solution to provide financial wellness resources for our community. I think I'm going over my time, so I'll hold there and then get back to you all for a question and answer. But thank you for all of your courage and your resiliency, and I think I can speak for all of us in saying that we're all in this together.
All right, great. Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate all that information on CDFIs, as well as the assistance that you all at Opportunity Fund are providing right now to small businesses in this challenging time. With that, I am going to introduce our next speaker, Eric Romero from the city of Long Beach. As small businesses have been, forced to shut down all across this country, there are a number of local governments who are really stepping up to help support their local businesses in their time of need. And so we're pleased to have Eric with us to share a little bit about some of the resources that are available in the city of Long Beach. And I think for all of you who, maybe are not as lucky to live in Long Beach, you can kind of get a sense of what resources might be available in your city. And if not, you talk to your elected officials and let them know they need to get their act together like Long Beach has, and be there to help out small businesses at this crucial time. So with that, Eric, I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. I completely understand the stress that you all are under, and I want you to know that local governments, many of them throughout the entire country, are working hard to ensure that we are supporting businesses during this very difficult time. I'm Eric Romero. I'm a project manager in the City of Long Beach Economic Development Department. Our job really is to help people start, sustain, and grow their businesses. And I just wanted to give you an example of how our local government is responding to the business needs in light of COVID-19. So really it felt like for us, all of this went from what I would say is 0 to 100 really quick. And our city manager, as soon as we started to see that this was all coming down the pike and we needed to respond quickly, he moved quickly to establish an economic resiliency unit within our department. Our department is made up of both people that help entrepreneurs and small businesses start, sustain, and grow their business, but we also have the pleasure of having a local workforce development agency that serves the region, including parts of LA as well. So we are really responsible for coordinating the strategy to support economic resiliency here in Long Beach, but also across the county as well. We know that we are not an isolated city. This is a regional economy. So I think whatever we do, we try to share with our partners across the county as well. This group meets every single day at 9 a.m. in the morning to talk through new changes that have come and to really strategize with regard to how we best reach people across the entire city that need access to capital, technical assistance, information on unemployment insurance or layoff aversion programs for employers. We have a variety of objectives, but some of the top ones here are supporting our small businesses during this tough time, providing access to capital as quickly as we can, supporting our existing employers, and also finding ways to reduce the cost of government. So for example, if you have a business license bill that you need to pay to renew your business license and you can't afford it, currently you will not be penalized or receive additional interest on your bill if you can't afford to pay. We're also doing similar things with our utilities and working with our partners such as Southern California Edison and others to ensure that we're getting this information out to the entire city of Long Beach. We are really prioritizing technical assistance and education of resources. A lot of small business owners that we are speaking to right now, the first thing that they ask for is capital. And in many cases, when we ask them, how much capital do you need? They don't know, right? They don't know how long to plan for. They don't know which expenses to plan for. They don't know what kind of decisions they're going to be making around the staffing. And so we are really saying, hey, you need some technical assistance. We're working closely with the local small business development center, and you can speak with a business consultant right away that can really help you think this through. The message really is, you are not alone. Do not try to do this alone. Get some help. We will help connect you to that help. So the Small Business Development Center, we're fortunate that our Small Business Development Center is a regional lead, so they have access to business consultants across the entire region, LA County and Ventura County and other parts of Southern California. So we're really relying on them to step up and support us during this crucial time. We've also asked them to ensure that there are business consultants that can speak multiple languages. Long Beach is a very diverse city. We have a large non-English speaking population, and we need to make sure that whatever materials we are putting out there, whatever assistance is available in Spanish, Khmer, which is what our Cambodian population speaks, Tagalog, and other languages as well. We are helping people navigate the process of understanding whether or not they are an essential or non-essential business. Governor Newsom and our local city council have put out different health orders that have required that some businesses shut down that aren't considered essential. But there is a lot to unpack in these health orders, and we are helping people navigate that process, and of course connecting them to technical assistance right away. So whenever they touch base with us, it's not just a quick answer to your question. It's really plugging you in to the entire entrepreneurial support ecosystem so that you do not feel alone and that people don't fall through the cracks. To support this, we've also launched a business hotline. It's 562-570-4BIZ or 4249. We have team members from across now different departments that have pivoted roles to help us answer questions as quickly as possible. We also have a website that has been launched, and we are in the process of developing and finalizing a number of FAQs and business resource guides. Again, these resource guides and FAQs will be made available in multiple languages so that people can really understand and benefit from the information that is currently available to them. As I mentioned, we are working to provide some capital to folks. So we've reworked one of our existing loan programs and made it into an emergency loan program. Provides loans between $2,500 and $10,000. It's a affordable interest rate. It's a set rate at 2.44% right now for every single business that applies. There's a 5 to 7 year repayment period. No collateral is needed. Your first payment wouldn't be due for about 9 months. And it's a partnership with a great nonprofit called the National Development Council. They're helping to do all the underwriting for us. And we are asking that everyone that applies for an emergency loan have at least one conversation with a business consultant at the Small Business Development Center so they can really help them think through the uses of these loan proceeds and also provide additional technical assistance. We are also a Kiva city, so we partnered with the Los Angeles Local Initiative Support Corporation, which is a community development financial institution, to help launch this program, which provides 0% interest, no fee loans between $500 and $15,000. It's typically a 3-year repayment period. I believe that Kiva is currently offering up to 6 months in deferred payments. We are fortunate that with our partnership with the Local Initiative Support Corporation, there is a match fund that is available. So we've organized and recruited a number of trusted community-based organizations and business associations that will help identify potential borrowers and help them navigate the loan application process. And if they support a borrower, they will endorse them, which will allow this borrower to get real-time access to this match fund. So every loan that is made, if I make a loan to a small business that has been approved for a Kiva loan right now, about $100, that will be matched in real time. So it quickly becomes $200. This program was alive and around before we started responding to this, but we're really ramping up and trying to push this program out to our partners and are looking for ways to bring more capital to businesses here in the city of Long Beach. So I'll leave it at that for now. I will say that our city council did pass an economic relief package that directed city staff to think through a number of other strategies and programs and services that can be delivered to support business owners. Some things that are in that package were actually already approved, such as a temporary moratorium on evictions for residential and commercial tenants that are dealing with financial burdens due to COVID-19. We are also going to be making another request for funding because currently we have the capacity to support about 60 to 80 businesses with our emergency loan program. We really want to ramp that up and support thousands of businesses. So we will be pushing our elected officials and our partners across the city to bring more funding to the table. Happy to answer any questions, and please know that there are lots of these resources available in your municipalities wherever you are located.
All right, great. Thank you, Eric, for that overview and sort of overview explanation of some of the resources that local governments are providing for small businesses. We really appreciate you joining us today. So with that, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who is Brian Pfeiffer, our Vice President of Entrepreneurship at Small Business Majority. And Brian is going to share with you some practical tools and resources that we think may be helpful to you all small business owners as you go through this crisis. So, Brian?
Thank you, David, and thank you to all the speakers who joined us today and for you all for attending. This was the slide Yosefa had been mentioning earlier about online lending. I will just say that before you go online, just be careful, because we're starting to see a number of unscrupulous actors starting to offer quote unquote emergency funding. If you're trying to get emergency funding for your business, go through the SBA, CDFI, or your local government first, and just be wary of anything that you might find online. We at Small Business Majority have been compiling a slew of resources for you. Our Small Business Majority site, at the top of the page, there's a COVID-19 resource page with all of our webinars, state resources, national resources. Zach will also post a link in the chat here for a page that we've propped up that has a list of all the local emergency relief funds and grant programs that are being set up across the country, like what's being set up in Long Beach. That's available on our website, venturize.org. We spent the past 5 years educating small business owners about a variety of topics, primarily access to capital. You can go to venturize.org, find that list of local emergency funds available on our homepage. We also have a map where you can sort by state to find your local SBDC or other nonprofit business assistance organization to help you with SBA paperwork or other problems that you're facing with your business, or connect you to other local capital sources. We also have a tool on Venturize called Match Finder. That's at matchfinder.venturize.org, where you can fill out some information about your business and get connected to our network of CDFIs, including Opportunity Fund, CDC Small Business Finance, and a couple of others. Like I said, we partner with a number of different nonprofits, the SBDC network, and other organizations that are willing and able to help you during this time. If you go to venturize.org, select your state from the homepage, and type in your zip code, you can find those organizations in your community. I would also advise you to contact your local economic development department or mayor's office for information about local emergency relief funds or grant programs that are being propped up by the minute. Another one of our partners, Pacific Community Ventures, is offering free remote business assistance on any topic at www.businessadvising.org. And another national CDFI we partner with, Community Reinvestment Fund, has a tool called connecttocapital.com. They work with some other CDFIs that we don't on Venturize, and in some other states. So if you don't find a match through Match Finder at Venturize, do check out connecttocapital.com. Same thing, you fill out a little bit of information about your business, and then they will connect you to local CDFIs who may be able to help you. And with that, I will turn it over to David.
All right, great. Thank you, Brian. We are now going to move on to our next speaker, who is Awesta Sarkash. And Awesta is the Government Affairs Manager here at Small Business Majority. And she has been working around the clock with policymakers in Washington, D.C., and letting them know what kind of assistance you small business owners need at this critical time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Awesta for a little bit more detail about what has been happening in the last few days, last few hours in the nation's capital. Awesta?
Hey, Awesta, I think we're having some issues hearing you here. One moment while we try to figure this out.
I think many of us here are fine.
Oh, I apologize.
Yes.
and paid sick leave actually impact your small business, then you can actually be exempted from offering those requirements in your state. And of course, that depends on your state and whether or not providing $350 billion through this program that would allow small businesses with fewer than 500 employees. That I apologize because we've only had the text of this legislation for not that long. It just came out. The Senate voted on phase 3 last night. It's a larger stimulus package of about $2 trillion, and that would include $377 billion for small business emergency loans. So I'm going to kind of quickly go through some of the high level stuff there. So one of the things that I think relates most to what you all are probably wondering about is something called the Paycheck Protection Program. This is basically providing $350 billion through this program that would allow small businesses with fewer than 500 employees to apply for these loans. And the size of the loans can get up to about $10 million. And it would need to be used to cover payroll costs. So that they define payroll costs as salary, wages, payment of cash tips, healthcare benefits, insurance premiums, retirement contributions, and covered leave. And then the cost of the participation in the program would be reduced for borrowers. So again, this Paycheck Protection Program starts out as a loan. If you're able to, use that money for these payroll costs as they define it, your loan can be forgiven. So that's something to think about. Again, this is just a proposal right now. It's headed to the House. They're expected to vote on this potentially tomorrow. If that happens, the Paycheck Protection Program would be available and could eventually start out as a loan and then be forgiven. For small businesses that have already laid off employees, for just as a note, you could use this money to hire those employees back because the loan period is from February 15th to I think the end of June. So if you've had to lay off folks in that time period, this should retroactively apply to those employees. Another sort of piece to that is the emergency EIDL grants. So you've heard about the economic injury disaster loans already, but something interesting about this bill, one, the bill would expand eligibility for entities suffering from economic harm through the SBA's injury disaster loans, and it also gives SBA more flexibility to process and disperse smaller loans. The really key feature here is that the bill would allow businesses that apply for these economic injury disaster loans and expedited access to capital through an emergency grant of $10,000 within 3 days. So if you apply for these economic injury disaster loans, you automatically get $10,000 within 3 days. Another key feature to that is even if you get, based off of the text, again, this could change, but based off of the text, even if you get denied for those EDL, those disaster loans, you still get the $10,000 and you don't have to pay that back. You get the $10,000 within 3 days to maintain payroll, provide paid sick leave, and to service other debts like rent, mortgage obligations, and so on. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I've heard a lot of people ask questions about whether or not you can take these emergency disaster loan grant or EDLs, and then also this $10,000, and whether or not that impacts your application for other loans, particularly that Paycheck Protection Program that I talked about. Right now in the text, we're not seeing that being an issue, but in the text there is a retention credit that small businesses can get for keeping their employees on board. If you want that retention credit, you can't apply for the 7A loan and vice versa. So that's the only thing that's currently, where there's maybe an issue of duplication. Right now, it looks like you can apply for both of these programs and it would still be fine. And we've had other folks talk about the small business debt relief. Again, the current stimulus package, the bill would require the SBA to pay all principal, interest, and fees on all existing SBA loans, including the 7A, Community Advantage, 504, and micro loan programs for 6 months to provide small businesses, to provide relief for small businesses. And that's about $17 billion in that section. I'm seeing a question. I'm just going to reiterate this one more time. That $10,000, you get it through applying for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And you get the $10,000 upfront, hopefully within 3 days, regardless of whether or not you're approved for that loan. So I just want to make that clear. So again, I just want to reiterate too that we're hearing from all small businesses right now that are saying that grants are really essential, and that's what we're advocating for. You know, I think loans are really critical. Expedited loans and responsible access to credit is really critical right now, but that is sort of secondary to our big ask, which is passing a sizable stimulus relief for small businesses so that they can keep making payroll, so that they can deal with their current debt obligations and so on. And then obviously I've heard some folks ask about unemployment insurance. That's being expanded as well. We're still trying to get the details for that, but I want to make it clear that self-employed individuals are included in a lot of these small business measures, and sole proprietors are also included as well. So I just want to continue to encourage people to sign on to our campaign, because we share all that with members of Congress. We've shared sign-ons with House leadership and Senate leadership. And so once you get that call to action to sign on to our campaign, please do that. So that's a pretty general overview of what's happening right now on the Hill. Again, phase 3 has not been passed yet, still needs to go through the House. And if it does, hopefully some of these details can be better worked out. And that's all for me.
Great, thank you, Awesta. I know things are changing by the hour, or maybe by the minute. So appreciate you jumping on and giving us the latest. We're going to jump into our question and answer session here in just a minute. But before we do that, I did want to take just a little bit of time to let you know how you all can help us get your voice heard. It's really important for all of us at Small Business Majority to collect real stories, real feedback, real questions, comments, concerns from all of you, from the small business owners who are out there facing the realities of this crisis. So we have a sign-on campaign that we will redirect you to at the conclusion of today's webinar. It gives you an opportunity to sign a letter to Congress urging them to bail out Main Street. Awesta just kind of gave you an overview of what's in the bill that is currently going through Congress, but we believe that more needs to be done. And then secondly, we also will have a link up here, an opportunity for you to share your story. We are collecting stories about how your business has been impacted by COVID-19. We also can get in touch with you if you fill out this survey. We can give you opportunities to directly speak with reporters or lawmakers, or other opportunities to publicly speak out and get your story and your opinions, your thoughts, your concerns out there. So with that, I'm going to leave these links up here just for a second, where you can contact your individual members of Congress, and then I'm going to turn things over to my colleague Zach, who has been going through all of the questions that you've been inserting into the questions tab, and we're going to do our best to start answering some of those questions. So Zach, I'll hand it back over to you.
Great, thank you, David. All right, so I'm going to go over here to the questions tab, and folks have been voting on questions, so we're going to go through the highest voted questions here, as well as some other ones that we've chosen that seem very relevant. So the first question is from Steve, and Steve is asking, is there a website we can go to that spells out the specific loan, grants available to small businesses of 5 employees or less? And are the requirements and qualifications the same?
Thanks, Zach. This is Brian. Yes, if you go to venturize.org, on our homepage, there's a red button that links to our COVID resources, which include information about the SBA disaster loan program, as well as local and state grant and emergency, zero interest loan funds that are being propped up. Every every organization and relief fund is going to have different requirements. I know that the SBA is loosening their restrictions and will include smaller employers as well, and including self-employed as part of the stimulus bill. And I believe the disaster loan, although Daniel can maybe clarify some of that for me. But yes, go to venturize.org, click on the red button, and we're updating that information in real time.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Katerina is asking, can a small business owner collect unemployment?
What was that question again?
Can an actual small business owner collect unemployment? Do they have to be on payroll, or what are the qualifications for that?
I mean, probably have to vary by the state they're in. I would suggest, whatever state they're actually in, to look at their unemployment website, because I know, like here in Massachusetts, they're relaxing a lot of the unemployment rules that typically apply. But I don't, that's going to vary from state to state. So I would think if you're from Massachusetts,